Hello everyone, I am Dan Stapleton, and this is our review discussion for Halo 5 Guardians. With us we have Ryan McCaffrey, Halo expert, legendary solo completionist, Miranda Sanchez.
I am legendary,
Wow.
I guess.
Humble, subtle too.
That was hard, okay?
I know,
I worked
I
really
know.
hard.
And our Halo 5 reviewer, Brian Albert.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
So our first discussion topic here is going to be what is going to make Halo 5 a contender for Shooter of the Year in 2015. Most of the other contenders aren't out yet, so we can't do a direct comparison. But what on a basic level makes Halo an outstanding shooter? Obviously, Brian, you think it's an amazing game.
I do.
So what makes it an amazing shooter for you?
Well, it's that this has the best combat in any Halo game. And that extends from campaign, which has its own weaknesses, to multiplayer, which is about as good as it's ever been. The shooting feels great because almost all of the guns now are useful and look great and sound great. Using them feels like it has an impact on the enemy. The new mobility mechanics are, I don't know how it feels like they should have been there all along.
Yeah.
It's just this combination of all these new things, but it doesn't like sacrifice that Halo feel. Like something, this isn't saying wall running is bad or anything, but like if they added wall running to Halo, it just wouldn't feel right anymore. It would kind of sacrifice that classic feel that it's had for what, like 15 years.
But they did add the booster jet, and they added clamoring.
Yeah, I think that's just enough to preserve what used to be there while making up for some of the deficiencies. The booster jets are great because there was really no quick way to get away from something. Like if someone had a good grenade down by your feet, or if you just like took a wrong corner and there's 3 dudes and you're like, no, this is bad turn, bad idea. It's just a really good way to course correct or to chase someone down who's running from you. It can be an offensive thing too.
And on the multiplayer side, that's balanced out by an incredibly smart thing, and that is your shields. If you're injured, you're in a firefight with someone, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to boost around a corner. I'm going to get out of here and just recharge. Your shields do not recharge in multiplayer until you stop sprinting. Yeah. So I think that's you are very, very vulnerable. Another guy could just be like, oh, look, boom, finish you off. Right. It's really just almost flawless shooter mechanics in this game.
And going back to what you were saying about how this feels like the most Halo shooter in a while, the cleanest. The past few Halos I haven't been super into with the multiplayer, especially because it felt too convoluted with the mechanics. Like, hey, here are these cool abilities. Like, you don't need that. This goes back to like a very clean shooter.
We talked about this on Unlocked recently, and that's we really feel like that Halo 5 on the multiplayer side goes back and evolves. Specifically, looks at Halo 2 and goes, we're going to build off of that.
Yeah.
Because 3 had the equipment. You could deploy the bubble shield. These things where it could, you might have something that another person
that, like,
doesn't.
Blinding thing.
Yeah. And then, Reach continued down that road, and 4 continued down that road, and 5 reaches back to 2 and says, okay, well, 2 was even playing field all times. We're going to start there.
Right. That's a thing I want to build off of there is, sprinting has been in Halo, but it wasn't like a default thing. It was a thing you had to equip, correct?
In Reach it was, and I believe in 4 everybody could do it.
Right.
Right. And then like jetpacks were a thing that you had to equip as an armor power. But now it's like all Spartans have the dash, sprinting, the sort of like hover jets when you're aiming in the air. Like everyone has that, so they can build around that and expect you to have that ability.
Yes.
So they can commit to that fully and know they're not leaving anyone out.
And this kind of increased sense of mobility has been kind of a trend in shooters over the last couple of years. You had Titanfall and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare both add like jump jets and wall running in Titanfall and kind of stuff like that. Do you think that's something that Halo needed, and is it a benefit?
I think it did. There was just this feeling, like I reviewed Advanced Warfare last year and played it, and I'm playing more Black Ops this year. And like when I went back to Halo 4, I replayed that before Halo 5. Still a great game, but I was just like, I feel like this weight that's just sort of like moving around this world. And even though the shooting is great, I don't know what it is. Like maybe we're just getting so good at normal like horizontal shooting that they had to. Go ahead.
And I reviewed Master Chief Collection last year, and playing those, roughly 10-ish year old games in multiplayer, like even the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, which was basically a new engine made to feel like Halo 2, which it did amazingly well. You know, in 2014 it felt like, oh man,
You're slow.
this is kind of slow. So yeah, I mean, Halo I think just kind of needed to pick up its pace a little bit to feel more like a game made in 2014, 2015.
And aside from being just more fun, it just solves problems that. So in Halo, if you wanted to get a bunch of altitude or kind of move around the level, you had to duck jump, which worked, but felt like this weird thing that people made up, and it just kind of worked. You would like crouch and pull your feet up, and you'd go higher. It just like felt like a weird workaround. And now like clambering is just so easy and so useful, and it does the same thing, but it's less frustrating than it ever has been. And yeah,
It kind of automates a thing that used to be kind of a fiddly technique.
yeah, it's like a quality of life thing that. Like it saves so many frustrating deaths, or like chasing someone down and losing them.
And to circle back to your original question of what would make Halo 5 a potential candidate for Shooter of the Year, on the specifics of multiplayer, because we'll talk about campaign for other reasons, but the multiplayer experience of Halo 5 is there are effectively, it ships with 3 very unique sort of multiplayer situations. There's Breakout, which is a new thing that's kind of like half SWAT, half Team Slayer kind of thing, and it plays very uniquely, and it's fun. And then there's the Arena, which just again goes right back to Halo 2, even playing field all
4v4.
times, 4v4, the super competitive, but it's the mechanics are that it builds upon are so great that it just feels fantastic. You know, there's SWAT within that. There's there's Slayer, all these things within that. And then Warzone, which is the literal big new thing for Halo. Halo's always been a max output 16-player game. This makes it 24 players with PvE elements, these boss MOBA-style enemies that are, they're neutral. It's either team can go get them, but they're worth enough points that they're totally worth diverting a fire team to go after.
And there's a little resource management in there with your points.
Yes, the rec packs,
and
it's just a stellar implementation of a new idea into a long-established Halo multiplayer universe.
And we'll get much more into that soon.
Yeah.
That's all the time we've got for this topic, so thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll have much more on Halo 5 Guardians on IGN.